Hi everyone, welcome to our next lesson in the Mastering Rose series. We're going to do some very casual painting techniques. This goes along with the book Mastering Roses Volume 4, the Casual Painting Techniques. What I have here is my standard panel that I use a lot. One of the reasons why I use these things is because they're very inexpensive. You can get an entire 4x8 sheet of this stuff for, under $10 and then cut it up into 11x14 panels. And then I just give it a base coat here. Here's the medium white color, which is just white and a little yellow oxide, tiny bit of black, or a little bit of raw umber to it if you want. Just kinds of grays. It's a real soft, light gray yellow, about a value 7 or so. Or you can use this direct minimum medium white. Then I sand it with 180 grit sandpaper. I didn't put any sealer in it or anything like that. It's a standard panel that I use. I like these because they're flat, they're inexpensive, and they're great ways to toss a little bit of paint around and not worry too much. And they're a great surface, a great size surface if you're a professional artist and sell your paintings. And the base coat here gives us just a beautiful surface to paint on, and it's got a longevity to it that's just amazing. When I do sell paintings like this, I finish the backs of them off really nice, so the whole wood is sealed and it's a nice presentation, and it'll last that person who buys it for hundreds and hundreds of years. But anyway, I'm going to come in here and make a quick little sketch of some flowers here. We have a horizontal surface here. Maybe we'll do a little bit of a vertical surface here. Well, what do you want to do, horizontal or vertical? That's the one thing you got to decide on here too. Let's do it this way. Let's do it horizontal, and we'll come in. We'll maybe put a line of movement here for some roses down and maybe up here. And so we'll come down, maybe a rose coming this way. We'll do a little bit different movement than I do. Let's put some roses down here. We'll do it in what we call the fleur-de-lis shape of it, coming down with the 3 coming out like this. So rosebud, and so we might put a little rosebud or something up like this. But this will bring this shape in, and we put on the circle just like we talked about in one. Is volume 1, and then the center will give us our gaze of the rose. This one will want to gaze out this way here like this and down, and so we'll put on the winding S shape here or so like that through it. It'll be just a real nice shape and some leaves and stuff coming out. That'll work out pretty nice. Now, for backgrounds, there's all kinds of ways. We can work on the dry background, which I show you in some of the book, and we can put a little bit of color on. We're going to get very casual. I'm going to use exactly the same colors that I use into the book, which is our Art of Painting colors, which is the 6 colors. To that, I add a pine green, a burnt sienna, some yellow oxide. Sometimes I'll add a diox purple or a quinacridone violet. I've been doing that in some of the Art of Painting and landscape stuff, and I really enjoy that as well. So we'll use our paper towel. I'm going to show you some palette knife and stuff here. So let's get right into it, okay? So we'll work on this light interest. I'm going to bring some light in here from the top of this one here. We'll take some light down here, and we'll work with some yellows. Blues are also very pretty. And, I have certain colors. I try different color combinations to see what the buying public like, or what you might like, as because you got this, you're part of the buying public, and I try to figure out what it is that everyone likes. And I've never paint what I like. I always paint what other people like, because that's my job. I enjoy the process of painting and creating, and so I always love to try different things. So let's put a little bit of the blue up and down here like this. And I do a lot of things at angles, and so sometimes I do it, on linear lines like this. So let's do this one today a little bit more linear like this, and I do this on a couple of the lessons in the volume here. I'll put on some color like this. Sometimes I'll wipe it back and forth with the paper towel to remove it, or to keep movement lines into it. It just adds interest. It adds interest, movement interest. You can wipe back through and find your flowers there, and see if you push hard with that color, it'll help soften out your graphite lines that you used as well on there too. So, and let's go through and let's add or let's continue on with a few other little things too. So let's go with some of our, in one of the lessons we used some yellows back here, yellows and burnt siennas, which were really quite pretty together. You can toss a little bit of that blue into that right there, and we'll pull this down And so this is what I do in one of the lessons into the book, and I leave it, and I leave it very rough like this, and maybe put a little bit more in like this and across like this. That creates some lovely contrast down. And I'll pull down, or sometimes I use my hand like this, and I'll pull down, or I'll pull down like this and create those. I love these little drippy lines like this that you can get, into your, and pulling some of this stuff down like that. That's again adds interest. You can pull some across to create some other little visual interest to it as well, and that just adds to it. And these are two very beautiful color combinations, very different color combinations on a painting today. And I'll bring a couple of them together. Maybe take some of this softly up like this through that blue, and this just creates this nice movement here, right down like that. Now we can create some green movement with our pine green. Maybe we'll add a little bit of that burnt sienna into that, a little bit of that light color there. Do a softer green movement area here, where we'll try not to cover up all that lovely yellow movement there, but we'll put some green right in where we have these flowers, and we can soften and take some of that out. This is what I do, is then you can see that flower shape pretty nice there. And we'll put some in here, and I casually try to strike the colors. When I start to think of casual painting, I try not to stroke. I try to strike almost straight, because that's what the quote unquote fine artists do. Is they, in a lot of fine art technique, instead of painting in a curve motion like a decorative painter, they paint in decorative painters will use a shape following stroke, and fine artists will use more of a light plane following stroke. In other words, they'll strike smaller strikes in the planes of light. And so that's what I try to do here, is keep those strikes into planes of light here. So I kind of like this going darker right back there like that, and then coming a little bit more green back out here. That's kind of a nice different look to it. It's coming out from the darkness into the greens here, and we'll just strike some of that color down like that, and that looks pretty nice like that. It looks very different for that. And maybe add let's go to our smaller, or not smaller, this is an old number 8 flat here. Let's grab some of this light blue from our background and some of that green, and we'll just come in and now I can start some more specific kind of like leaf shapes and just take them off like that. That's how I like to do. And so I'll paint the leaves as much as I can with a straight stroke on something like that, and just maybe kind of take the edge off like that, just to give an indication of its shape and stuff. And sometimes I'll leave it more distinct, and sometimes I will I try not to do a shape following stroke. I try to put it in with this as straight as strikes as possible here, and we'll just grab a little bit of this and loosen up. This is where you just get your brush with the jiggles here, and move some of those shapes further out. Let's get some of that toned burnt sienna and pine green together here. That real dark brownish green is beautiful, and a little bit of red violet in this is beautiful as well. Deeper color. Look how much deeper that color is. And you can vary that, model that with some green, so you get some variation to that color. And look at the contrast we can develop back down over on this side, going into there, here. And I'll just start striking some of these colors into here for the contrast and movement. And you build that contrast, that depth. Let's get a little more pine green and red violet. A little cool dark. See that depth? I'm building those strikes and that depth into here. I can soften any of that movement a little bit, just through like this. Drag some of that out, further out like this. Here, I'll do that. Sometimes I'll do more as I come out through here like this. I'll do more very, very distinct leaf shapes out like this. So the viewer sees that leaf shape again. You know, maybe that's nice there. Picked up a little idea of a vein line there. Maybe there's one that comes out like that. It comes out. There's another one there with a little vein line. So they, you know, on the outer edges of the painting here, they may see more distinct or direct leaves, and you can take them off edge just a bit there, like that. Just soften some of that, the edges there. And again, that's just giving a variety of edges and interest. And that's what I look for. I look for a variety. It's a casual, a variety of techniques. Let's use our chisel here and get some of that movement of those stems and just some lines. Cut across some lines and stuff there. That movement is so pretty into the painting. I try to capture, even though I may cover up all these stems where you don't see it completely, I will try to capture still have it there, because it gives me the feeling into the painting that I want to have. I feel, you know, I get that direction through it. There we go. Down like that, and that may need a little softening, so you can just take a little bit of that softer color and just tap over it. Soften that through. You could use negative painting like we did in volume 3 to you know, bring out any of these shapes or so. Let's go some more pine green. Let's start to green it up a bit here, change it up a bit, and add a few little shapes right out here that are coming down like that, maybe, and soften those shapes out just so you pick up an idea of the leaf shape here. And like I say, we want to keep it casual. So if I keep it casual like this and they see a few leaves, then they'll identify all of this as leaves. But you don't want to go out there and paint every single thing perfect. You know, you want to give some nice variety to it and of the shape. And I'll paint in straight strokes out like that. And you know, so I don't want to paint the entire shape perfect. I want to keep some of the edges lost and impressionistic. That's the casual nature of it here. And so a few little things like that just you know, will add a lot to your painting here. And so it doesn't need to be perfect. So just little lines like this, and maybe take this one, has a little bit of both colors into it. So that's a nice transition leaf there. You could take a little bit of this tone color and put a little bit in there, and you can see it just carries that color out through there. And likewise, we can take some of our pine and put some of that back in here and create even more contrast back up into the center. Usually I try to keep the center here very full and dark of the colors, lots of stuff going on, and this dark will play against the lighter background here and give me what I'm looking for. Okay, so now let's come in, and you can do this at any time. We'll start to say, okay, where's going to be our you know, center of interest? Where's our stuff, our flowers going to be? Let's paint some reddish roses today. Let's do some of our reds, reds and yellow roses here. Let's put some of our red violet and some of our red together there. You could use, if you want to tone it down a little bit, have a bit of burnt sienna into it. We'll come right up here, and right from volume 1, we have the center of this rose here sets the gaze of it. Then we'll push the shadow down for where the bowl of that rose is going to be. We'll open this rose up a little bit more, which means we'll do it more as an oval shape. And I'm just going to soften just a bit of that movement there. I don't want to use too many curved strokes. I have a tendency to paint my roses very curved because that's what I learned, but I don't want to do too many of them. Let's push this one at a slightly different angle down here. Okay, let's put it center and bowl in, and we'll push those out. Here we go, and just kind of soften those out like that. And those will work, and we might even increase the size of that one just a bit and increase this one just a bit. So the outside petals here might collide a bit or come pretty close. That can make it kind of pretty. We'll vary their shapes. But see, I push in and out of those greens, and that just keeps a nice, nice softness to it. And let's keep this as just an opening one. So we'll keep it a little bit more to the oval shape here. Here, down like that. And if we need to, we'll add some more greens in there to keep that oval shape in there. Back here, we'll put in a back one that is just an idea of one. An idea back here of a rose. That's on that back side back there. So it'll be just a little bit of a whispery shape here. And then we'll put some greens and stuff back in there, and that'll work pretty nice. I could turn that this way, but I think having one slightly to the back there is okay. But you know what? That might just make they're going in an X there. So let's not do that. Let's take that back. Let's back that back out and turn its shape this way. And then that's pulling your eye this way as well. And sometimes you don't know until you put it on there and you see it. And for me, I'm very visual, and so I can make a plan, and I try to make a plan all the time in what I paint. And sometimes I have to alter that plan as I put something on, because then I see it and it's not really going to work there like that. And since that one is there and that one is there like that, they're almost at the same angle. I'm going to just re-gaze this one down here. Let's turn its gaze this way just a bit more here, and I'll probably let's turn its gaze a little bit more sideways here, down like this, and wipe this down here. Here we go. So the gaze of those two will be slightly different there. This one's slightly up this way. So here's its centered. It's ever so slightly up. And this one right here, ever so slightly to the side. So I try not to have to, I mean, it's okay, but I try not to have the roses with the same gaze and stuff all the time, because that will get you into trouble. It gets too much power in one direction, okay? Alrighty, so that works pretty well. We'll just kind of smush this in and out here. Now we're going to do our colors and stuff as we paint these, more in strikes and of it. We'll take some of and we're going to play the different parts of pinks, and we can do pinks and yellow and orangey colors. If you take your naphtha red light and some Hansa yellow out here, you make a real bright orange, and that might be a fun kind of orange to use on some of the very fronts of these roses here. Matter of fact, let's just grab some of that, and let's just, on this smaller rose, let's just make a few little touches of that. See, I'll just make some quick little jabs and try not to curve too much. It's a habit of mine to curve, but we'll put some quick jabs of that in. I'll lighten this up over here, model that brush up, and we'll put a few little more jabs of light into that, like that. I'll reach out onto the edge here, and you can pull in just like that a bit, and that'll just set up the feeling of the light part of the orange of the rose there. I can build that a little bit more light and set that in. And you always got to follow the shape of the bowl, so you might curve a little bit, but I don't want to do too much curving. I want to paint these in just tiny little jabs, casual color, and I'll paint between my light and my dark. I'll even come back here and reset some of my dark feeling of these, bottom ones here. These bottom ones here just might even be just mostly your red violet out like that, just kind of jabbed in there like that, okay? So, there's all kinds of ways here. And we'll just put that in, so that gets a pretty nice look, and you keep that modeling, that red and that yellow there. And, if you keep mixing it, they'll always be a little bit different, so that when you set the next color in and everything, that's where you get the beauty, is that the next color will be just maybe a little bit different than the first ones there. Now we can put a little bit of our reds in that and just kind of pull through and take out some of that light there, and just pull through a few strokes like that, just real casual. And that sets it, the feeling of the rose here. So I'll put that darker color in there and pull that out. There, that's nice. Put a little jab of light there. A little light colored stroke there. Maybe just, boom, take that just a bit. Just that one. There, like that. It's just a pretty rose set in like that. Let's go more here to the warm red side for this one here. Not as much of that orange. Let's go with a little bit more of the warmer reds here. And put some on. And see, I'm just kind of building this with straighter strokes, which keeps this flower more of a casual look to it. Not letting it curve and get strokey. It's strokey, but it strikes. We call strikes a color. I'm striking the color onto the rose here. I'm striking that color onto the rose, and this is how I do a lot of the flowers. I'll strike it like that. I may wipe my brush and pull down to start to set the feeling of the bowl, and maybe I'll pull up this way to feel that get some motion of that bowl coming, or that light color coming back up that way here. But I'm striking the color. I'm striking it across. Here comes that petal. Here comes that petal. And maybe I'll pull it in a little bit from there. I'll pull this one in a little bit from there. I might have a petal here and pull out a bit. So see, I'm painting, boom, and maybe boom, that'll set the angle there. Wipe my brush and then pull in like that. Pull in, sets that feeling of the rose there. And then I can come back in and I'll do all kinds of different strikes. So maybe I want a little bit more white, so I'll stroke it a little bit smaller there. If I get something too light or something, then I'll go pick it a little dark in my brush and take it out with that negative painting that we talked about in the last volume. You can combine those different techniques there. But let's put that together. Let's even put a little bit of that orange right up into the very front part of this, right up here, so it picks up a little bit of that orange, that warmer orange there from that other rose. And that might just come in here like that. And we can take some out. Put some out. We can do mostly the pinks, and you can push that pink and that light right in there. Push that orange and those together. See how it makes a nice, beautiful light color for the front of that bowl there. I can come back in, use my corner, and reset the motion inside that center so that I always try to keep that very dark color right there where I want in that center, making sure my gaze between those two roses there is where I want it to be. Here. And bring some of that dark right down. Maybe some of that dark right down here on the lower side, and we'll keep that shadow right in there. Just let those just kind of play like that. And that shadow is soft. Now that's a bit straight there, so we'll just curve that up a bit, maybe. And you can let some of these petals on the side of the bottom side get very dark. You can always make sure, like I've said before in all the other lessons, make sure that you see clearly that bulb. You got to get that, always find that bulb. That's the, that bulb keeps the flower oriented the correct way. Let's get this a little lighter here. Let's just pick up some big light color and push that in. Push a strike there, and then just pull down. Maybe pull up and down here, and I'll set that strike several times until I start to like the shape of the rose. Now notice I haven't turned my board or anything like that. I don't when I paint like this. I like to keep myself oriented to what I see in the rose, because that's how so this one's falling down. If I go turn it, I might paint it at the wrong gaze, and then when I go turn it the way I want to hang it, it doesn't look correct. So I learned how to paint in all roses and visualize them in all different directions. Don't be turning that. That I know it might be easy to turn it and see it, but you don't really want to do that. Let's put another little light strike. There's going to be a petal right there. And then we'll just lift out from where that bowl is, right like that, and find where that petal is, just like that. And let's cause another little light strike right across. Whoa, that's not a little. But see, don't worry about that. You can drop any kind of dark into your brush, even a little this orange like this, and just lift out and start taking out what you don't want into that. So I'll take some of this out on the side, maybe most of that out here onto this side. I'll leave that little edge there. And, maybe we'll put another little strike right there, a little heavier strike right there. Take some of that out here. And that's pretty nice. And those little strikes right there with that. Here, we have to decide, do we want to keep that strike out here or let this side here soften out? So sometimes I'll get casual and I'll just pull that down, let those colors kind of come back around here again, and then strike it again with the lights here, boom, like that. And, maybe pull up like that and make those side petals like that. That makes the rose look a little different. And that's your goal, is to always stroke your roses a little different. You want everything to always be a little different here. So, and that's your goal. So those are kind of pretty there like that. That one will build that light up into the front a little bit more. Maybe that light comes right up in there into the front. And we'll just take back off just a bit here. Those are kind of pretty casual roses there. Take some of that light. Let's strike just a bit out here. I like it on that front bowl, so if we keep it right on the front bowl, it'll get isolated. So we'll put just a touch of it out here. And you can take some of it out back to that other color. So you leave just a bit on the tip there. Or let's strike a little bit there, a little bit. See, that's just kind of pretty there. And we'll just take out just a touch, not too much. Just a touch, maybe just an idea of some of that right in there. Just take a little bit out. Maybe just an idea of that light touch there. Here, maybe it's just on those edges. But see how those strokes, not strokes, these strikes. I'm striking the color and using the paint more of an angle and striking. That's what gives it this very casual. And that's when I start to paint casual, I start to look at planes of light. Here's a plane there. So here's a light strike plane, a receding plane, a shadowing plane. So there are 3 values down through there. Okay, and that's kind of what I'm seeing in the painting of it here. Okay. Let's come down here. Let's toss a little yellow onto this. A little yellow and orange is pretty. Let's toss some of that color into this rose. But we might go a little bit more white. Maybe even a little green into this pink, and it grays that down a bit. So it'll be a softer white rose right here, which will be kind of pretty to have a white rose pointing down here. We'll open it up a bit here, like that. We'll strike some lights here. There. Let's strike some lights. So here will be the edges of the rose there, like that. Okay. We'll strike some. We know we've got to have the front of the bowl here. And it might go up and around and up and around. And there's towards the bottom of the bowl. So there's going to be the basic part of our rose. And we can strike and push in and out to get the movement in and out for our petals here. Just push in and out. Sometimes I push that brush, call it push strokes. Or I push that brush, or I'll pull different directions there, and that just models that up, gets that moving. Let's get some of our dark. And if you notice when I'm painting this, I'm painting pretty fast. I keep going, keep going, keep going. And I'd rather not stay and play in something, and because then I'll just make it stiff. So it's like I keep going. If I don't like something, I may even just move on to the next flower and come back and revisit it again. Okay, so I don't hang around too long in one area painting, because that's just going to make it worse. So I just strike it and move and strike it and move. Here, we'll get some of this nice dark red violet, even negative paint right up into that light edge there. And drop that red violet in. Nice, really cool. A little bit of green there will help tone that down. It'll actually warm it and tone it, because the green's warm. Here. Toss a little bit of that into that. There. And maybe some soft lights back into here. Some light movements back into the back of the rose. There. That just gets some nice movement in there. That's nice. We might do some more greens and stuff in there. Let's get down and we head to some of these yellows and lights, a little bit of yellow into that. Some of this blue over onto a cool side would look really nice as well. Here, let's just build this lighter part of the rose here. Build, so it's just boom, 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 build up. I'm just building up some color, just lightly touching the surface with that color. And it's just building that light color up into that area, which is advancing that part of the rose, you see. And that's what I'm trying to do, is build that rose off of the surface there with lots of light color here. And very light. Look where my hand is on the brush, and I'm just tapping it and building it like this. And if you've never painted like this before, at some point you're going to feel, oh, wow, I just don't got any control on it. And it takes practice. It really does. It takes practice to get that feeling of that, and to paint with a lot of paint. And, you know, there's just no way I can say, don't get frustrated with it. It just takes practice. And, you know, for the last few years, that's just what I've been doing, is painting. And I do 400 or 500 paintings a year where I'm practicing and, you know, and using these thick colors. And now it looks like, okay, yeah, I'm just dancing around with the brush and putting that on. People go, wow, you do that. Yes, I have. I've done it 500 times. That's the only difference, is that I've done it 500 times. And that's why it's so comfortable for me, and why, yeah, it looks like, oh, yeah, you could just do that. Well, it's not something that came instantly to me. It's something I had to do. Here I just soften that little shadow. Remember, we always say, what's the rule? You've got to go make sure you always find that bowl. So, you know, before we get too carried away here, we've got to make sure that we always see where that bowl of that rose is. We see that bowl. And, you know, even if I take it off a little bit like that, we see that bowl, then that's a pretty rose. That's a different rose than a pretty rose. So let's continue. Let's grab a little more white. I'm just going to set it over here where I can just use pure white here and just lay on some pure white strokes here. Just thick white paint. Boom, 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 just like that. And, you know, I may push back like this and use that to paint that petal. That's negative painting. I may lift out a bit like this so I can see that bowl shadow coming up into that petal like that. And, you know, maybe I'll just strike that right there like that, to strike the color, wipe the brush, and just lift off ever so lightly like this, just to blur that edge just a bit and leave that rose like that. It's beautiful like that. It's different. That's what I'm looking for. It's different. You know, we'll lift that, maybe just lift off a bit right from where that shadow would be. Maybe I'll take some more heavy white and we'll strike it, boom, like this. Maybe a bit more, boom, like that. And maybe that's a petal. Maybe that's a petal that's coming up like this out of that rose like that. And we can leave that like that. As long as I see that bowl shadow, and I'm okay. I'm safe here. We can lift up. We can see where that bowl shadow is. If not, just put a little bit of that shadow in there and lift up with that shadow, and you'll see it there. There's the shadow of that rose. There. Maybe a bit of the shadow comes out here. We'll turn that rose. Turn that feeling. That strikes a color here. Coming more transparent, coming down this side. Little edges of these back petals back here. Just use your chisel and just go toot, toot, toot. Like that. There, like that. Just nice casual Casual roses like that. Let's go down over here to this one here. We'll pop in some light. Maybe we'll go a little bit of orange. We'll carry that orange color back up here again. We'll use this more as an oval shape. That'll make the bud, the rosebud shape. A little bit of that dark color comes in there like that. Maybe it's just beginning to open up, which means we'll have a few little reaching petals or bottom petals that are starting to fall open here. Maybe there's going to be one at an angle like this. It means it's just opening up. So we'll push that there, then we'll pick up some light. Let's just strike the light right like that. And let's strike the light, boom, right like that. So that's where the light is. We'll pick up some light. We'll strike the light, boom, right up there into the front. Now they got the light in the front. We'll wipe our brush, put back in some of that orange color into that, and we'll lift out just a bit of that stroking from there. Now, see, I picked up that light. So if I don't wipe that brush, I'll just drag light back there. So I got to wipe that brush and just lightly lift off like that. So we'll go again, just lightly lift off. See, I picked up that white because I'm removing it. Wipe that brush and just lift off a little bit, and that gives you your light edges to your petals here. We'll put a little bit of that orange in. That'll help us reshape that bowl of that rose there like that. Okay. And very, very casual like that. That's what makes beautiful casual flowers. And just little bits of that. Maybe we'll take a bit of that red violet and stuff that's right there, and we'll push a little into that bowl right there. So they'll see a little bit of that red violet coming into that bowl. Maybe a touch of it going out into those petals, just a touch like that. And you have a beautiful flower. You can put some red violet, more into the back of the rose back here. Just let those edges and stuff there just kind of disappear. Now we'll look back through our flowers. Maybe we want to lighten up again. A little bit more light. Heavy, heavy light. Boom, boom, boom. Just nice thick paint. And let's just lift off just a bit. Here, put a little bit of that orange and reds into that, just to lift off a little bit there. I always like to go back into my center ones after I finish all the flowers, is go back and revisit them again, because they could always use the last little touches on them again to really lighten them up. So I like that. So I'll wipe that off, put a little bit of that dark in that, a little bit of that orange into that in my brush, just a tiny bit, and I'll touch and then lift off, and that'll take a little bit of that paint with it, that light color with that. And I like that modeling. See that modeling of those colors get in there. And that's just something that you can never plan. I'll never be able to paint this rose exactly this way again. It's impossible because it's just so casual this way. But it's just a fun way to paint them. Let's take a bit of our orange. Let's go back and model back up some more orange here. And we'll take a bit of white with that. We'll go back and revisit this first one here. Revisit those colors. That orange is really pretty. We might just touch a bit of that into that rose there. Maybe there's a bit of that warmth showing up there into that one there. Bit of that warmth coming into that one there. They're just really pretty. Get that light color. Boom, we'll strike the front side of this one a bit here. And there we go, down like this. And that'll lighten that up there. And so we'll maybe find that shadow again and just lift right up to that shadow here. Now that's too much of a V shape, so I'll strike down and strike across here. So I'll get rid of some of that V shape here. I don't want that V shape in there. I like that reds. going with these cool reds right into those oranges. That's pretty coloring in there for that rose. And it's different for that rose. Those reds really look nice to have a little touch of those reds in there. Those tones. Those are really kind of pretty tones to have show up into the roses there. And we'll just orange that up a bit. And now maybe we'll take our darker oranges, just lift off. There. That's better. That could be a little bit lighter though. Now that I've put all this light on these white ones, yeah, I liked those oranges earlier, but see, after I got all these other lights on here, those oranges, that orange one really pushed back a little too far. So now I'm just lightening it up so it doesn't push back quite so far. Here we go. Maybe revisit that shadow, that bowl shadow there. Pull some of that out. Pull a few strokes just to soften that down. That's kind of pretty. Works different. Looks different. Maybe some light edges here. You know, you can just use that little edging technique, that corner that we talked about there in volume 2, and put on petal edges. Even with the casual, you could still load your brush slightly like that and do straight strokes like that and pop in some corner edging like that. Or, you know, like if you want to follow that line, just kind of boom and just kind of go straight line, straight line. And that looks good. Those straight strikes up against each other there, that looks really good. You know, and then that plays against this one that doesn't have that out there, and that's what I like about that's interactions of those roses. Now, let's take some of our burnt sienna back to our pine green and burnt sienna, maybe a bit of blue. You can even have a touch of black. I don't use black that often. And we'll get a few of our dark stem motions back in through here again, especially those nice burnt siennas because it's a nice different color back through there. Get some of those in there. Maybe little light touches here and there through that. Okay. We'll get some of we'll play some of our greens again. We'll cover up some of that just a bit. Okay. We'll use some of those dark greens, even with some like negative painting that we've done before. Keep it more in straight lines. Those strikes of colors and tones, though. You know, keep that, and we'll get a little bit of brush dancing out here, like that. Don't cover up all that nice background movement, but add a few little touches of that in and out here, like that. Little touches. Little. I usually load the corner of my brush up and do a few little like dances out here like this. You'll see that in that big yellow horizontal one, the yellow roses, the Austin yellow roses I believe that's the name of the lesson in the volume 3. I do that and just kind of do like this, just a little brush dance with the corner, and that fusion is just so nice. You just have to do it. You have to just attack it with some confidence here and let what happens happen. You know, here I'll take a little bit of this and use it to help shape the back of this rose here out like that, and that just makes it really pretty here and around and around and around like that. Okay, and then we'll go into some light. Maybe we'll do some of our pine green, maybe a bit of that blue, light blue background that we had there. That'll make it really pretty because it'll bring some of that color right into the painting here. We'll add a little bit of that into some strokes, into some leaves and stuff coming in here. Maybe some right in between the two here. Maybe we have some lighter leaves, ideas of leaves coming back through painting. Don't want to get too much, get rid of all that that dark we had there, but little touches. Maybe yellow some of that up. Let's get some yellow oxide in there, maybe a touch of the haunts of yellow, which will brighten that up. Grab a little bit of that light, that white. That's a nice warm yellowy green here, yellow green, and touch a bit of that to carry that color in, and that'll pick up some of your yellows through here, maybe little touches of it here and there through the painting. And you can use those corners and dance smaller little touches of that through some of the edges out here and stuff, and maybe there's just little bits of it coming through. Sometimes I leave it very dark in that center so I get contrast, like I did in Austin Yellow Roses and that particular one. And sometimes I go in and I'll put the light on. Sometimes I'll put the light on, then come back and just tap in some dark to set those leaves underneath those roses there, like that. But I don't need to do perfect leaf shapes because I'm not doing perfect rose shapes. I'm doing everything just really casual. We can use those leaf shapes here and push some of those back like that. And you notice I just keep working and I keep working and I keep moving and moving and moving and moving my design around like this. Here, just keep those. Here we got those edges there, out and around. Do a little cornering here, a little bit of the movement further out here. You can go that real dark pine green and red violet, which is a real dark brownish color. I like that for some deep contrast, you know, to play against some of those leaf shapes. Those deep contrast, little bits of it here and there is really nice. And, you know, just contrast, it'll make the light roses look lighter. You know, really get that contrast in there. Maybe in your deepest, coolest is with a little bit of blue into that. In that red violet and that pine green, a little bit of blue, even a tiny, tiny bit of black. You don't need very much. And that creates some very nice, cool, dark contrast for your, especially there into the center, where it'll play right against that light colors and right against this warm, like that orange color. See how that darker, cool green plays against that, and just bang, there comes that contrast right there. Nice. You can use this for like negative painting right here and just kind of shape this rose petal up just a bit there, like that, or soften that edge. I like that. Just little touches of it here and there. You don't need it everywhere. Just little sparks, what I call sparks of contrast, sparks of color. I kind of dance them around in a few edges and a few little places of them coming out. Just little bits of that here and there. And sometimes I do like little chisel points here, like there's little thorns and other things here to the stems here. So you pick up those, some ideas of some stems just pulling all the way through the painting here. And just blur the edges so that line continues all the way through the painting. Zoom, right like that. Maybe a touch or two of the light may continue on that. There. Break that up a bit. So they just get a nice, powerful thing. Maybe you have a, you know, maybe back here you have the idea of a little rosebud appears right back here. Just the idea of one here. And see, that just kind of sits back in there. Kind of nice. Just a soft little one back there. Just kind of a little oval shape with a little light color onto it. That's all it really needs. Push just a little bit of our reds into that. That's all it really needs, because you're casual painting, right? Just boom, there it is, a nice soft one back there. Just push in a little bit of that. And that's how I go about painting casual like that. And it's fun because you build the painting. You're building the painting and you're working. And I think some of the things that is The most important is, you give a couple of leaf shapes out here so the viewer can see those. And then you just build and build and build and just keep building, building, building and trying things and colors. And if something doesn't work, then lift it out. There, I hit a little green there, so I'll lift that out. And I might push out here just a little bit more of the edge of that rose petal there. Just take a little white like this and push out. That's another technique I use sometimes. And pushing out the petals like that, push strokes, and pushing stuff out like that, and lifting out and pushing out. And it gives a different look to it too. There's all different kinds of ways. Use the corner of your brush, dance that around, try all different kinds of stuff. It's a lot of fun. Alrighty, so give something like that a try. And remember, it's just a bit of paint and a board. Give it a try, and try some of this freehanding stuff, because put a sketch on and try some freehanding. You could sketch with your brush, like I show you also in some of the other lessons. Sketching with the brush, and I do that in the book 4 too, and I've done it in all the books. You can sketch with a pencil, sketch with your brush, but have some fun and try some of this real casual, light, airy effect. Okay, and I'll see you on the next video.